Hello, my friends, and welcome back to yet another episode of Watching the Watchers Live. My name is Robert Gouveia. I am a criminal defense attorney broadcasting from the Valley of the Sun deep in downtown Phoenix, Arizona. And today we are talking about lawfare. We've got a lot of it going on, most of it coming out of the Department of Justice, the FBI these days, but there are other private entities as well. But today we're focusing on two trials, DOJ trying to convict a number of people. This one individual we haven't spoken much about here. We spent some time on this a long time ago, like, I don't know, a year and a half ago. Douglass Mackey, aka Ricky Vaughn, has been charged with posting illegal memes on the internet. And this is one example of an illegal meme. Don't take this advice. Don't text that number. That's not a vote, okay? In case you couldn't put that together. But this was the illegal meme that was posted, and he got indicted for that, according to the DOJ. And we read through that, I think, I don't know, a year and a half ago, whenever this was. But he is now in trial. In fact, trial's done, as far as I can tell. The defense rested today. The government presented one witness. My understanding, we're going to take a look at this, and that's it. So I guess it's over to the jury, and we'll see how they rule. But Marjorie Taylor Greene was asking about this. I wanted to give an update on this because this is interesting. I mean, if this guy gets convicted for illegal memes, that's a big problem, because a lot of people post memes that the DOJ, the FBI, we know they hyperventilate over this stuff. We read the Twitter files here. And so if they're going to be throwing people in prison for illegal memes, we've got to be aware of that. So we'll take a look at this. It should be with the jury right now. Get an update in a minute. I think it literally just, I got an update in my email like 2 minutes ago. So we'll see. We also are going to turn our attention back over to Proud Boys trial day 44 in the House. We have to get caught up with what is happening here because there was some updated stories about the FBI informant who has outed herself, so we can use her name now, Jen Loh, and her actual full name is also in the New York Times. So we've got two full posts or two full articles that we'll go through before we ask ourselves what's going on in Texas. There's an insurrection there. A bunch of transgender people are, insurrecting that capital. And then we'll go over to the Roger Parloff tweet thread, which is where we're into the trial, because the trial is well underway and we have some pretty incredible news that came out of it. And so, my friends, we are going to get into just a bunch, as you can see. And if you want to be a part of the program, the best place to do that is by heading on over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com, where our amazing community is. You can join our community either at watchingthewatchers.locals.com or by joining our private, or by joining on YouTube, and then you can become a private Telegram member by clicking in the link. Great way to join and stay connected before and after the streams. We do member-only content, morning streams, and a lot of other fun stuff. So come check us out, watchingthewatchers.locals.com. And of course, before we get into it, we got to talk about our friends over at Field of Greens, where you can save 15% if you go over there and use code Robert, because we would all like to lose some of those leftover pandemic pounds. I know, but how sick are you of all these ads for weight loss pills and fad diets? But we know that we've been there, we've done that. They don't work. You know what does? Eating 5 healthy servings of fruits and vegetables every day. You do that and the weight would probably just fall right off. But vegetables, not a fan. And who's got time to prepare all that every day? Instead, let's talk about Field of Greens. Now, Field of Greens is a science-backed formula, very specific fruits and vegetables you're not going to find in any other product. We know that proper nutrition reboots your metabolism so you can burn calories faster and lose weight the healthier way. And Field of Greens is the only brand backed by a better health promise. Yes, you're going to look healthier and feel healthier very fast, but that greater proof is going to come at your next checkup when your doctor says, wow, you've lost weight. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. And so let's get you started. Go on over to fieldofgreens.com, use code Robert, get energized. The vegetables want to be eaten. Don't forget code Robert at checkout and get your green energy so that you're bursting with energy, man. Look at that. Look what happens. It's crazy. All right. And so let's get into the meat and potatoes on the day, because we do have some serious business. Illegal memes, a criminal trial prosecuting Douglass Mackey. You may remember him allegedly as Ricky Vaughn. He was active back during the election against Hillary, and he was posting stuff like this. Now, for full disclosure, this is not an accurate picture that you see on the screen here, and this is not true. He got charged with a crime for posting that. And so it says text Hillary to 59925, avoid the line, vote from home. And it's not just the post, right? It's not just the picture itself. They're saying that he was spamming this all over the place. And it was specifically being posted to deviate people from the polls. And so I don't think it's illegal anymore because there's no Hillary running for election. But at the time, it was, because this was deviating people. It was deceiving people, is what they said. So we'll go through this. This was what his Twitter account looked like. It was Ricky Vaughn 2.0, and it was very active, a lot of followers. And so he got charged with crimes for this. And so I want to go through what the actual prosecution says from the Department of Justice, because the trial is well underway right now. It's actually done. It happened. It's already done and over. It was one day, essentially. One witness, one day. It's going to be handed off to the jurors. And so let's actually get our bearings straight and see if there were any changes since we even started this show, because I think there was at least the conclusion of the trial. All right. Yeah. So we have here jury trial. That'll be updated a little bit later. We'll check back here at the end of the segment to see if that got refreshed. But what else is going on? I mean, this is a pretty interesting situation, because if you get charged with crimes for your posts and you're kind of posting jokes, that could be a big problem, right? You don't want other people to be charged with crimes for this. So, be extra cautious with this Department of Justice. But here is what it looked like in the original complaint. Now, this was filed some time ago, and you'll see it is United States versus Douglass Mackey, aka Ricky Vaughn. This is the criminal complaint, arrest warrant affidavit by the FBI agent. They tell us that in between September 2016, November 2016, we've got elections. Ricky Vaughn was conspiring to injure and oppress others in the free exercise of their privileges to vote in the United States Constitution. And the source of this is from an FBI special agent. And we've been a little bit surprised, that the FBI was so involved, like hyper involved with all of the Twitter files. We saw that they were spending giant portions of time and money and resources just scrolling through Twitter, trying to find illegal memes and illegal jokes and stuff like that. Now they're charging people with crimes and about ready to convict them. So this FBI agent been doing this for more than 3 years. I'm responsible for conducting investigations. I participated in tons of stuff: mail fraud, bribery, wire fraud, and so on. I become familiar with all of this, and here is what's happening. In 2016, Macky and other individuals were trying to spread disinformation relevant to the 2016 election, and these took the form of memes, illegal memes. And Macky and his co-conspirators, you see this? Retweeters, be careful out there, variously discussed and they debated aspects of the illegal memes, including their content, their formatting, the timing of their release, and their desire to influence the behavior of those who saw them. Now, as the election approached, in conjunction with others illegal insurrectionary memers, this was done during very important dates in the run-up to the election. These co-conspirators disseminated information across social media about who could vote for whom. Now, in case you're unfamiliar with memes here, they gave us a definition. Footnote 2. In the context of internet activity, a meme refers to an amusing or an interesting item like a captioned picture or video. And it's widely spread online. That came over from Merriam-Webster's. Now, sometimes they'll use illegal specific hashtags that insurrectionists use. At all time, he was a resident. You see here, he's got these various accounts, Ricky Vaughn and so on. They use illegal hashtags. In the months leading up to the election, we didn't know his identity. Oh, nefarious, clandestine individual. There were other people that allegedly connected him. Somebody had Douglass Mackey, aka Ricky Vaughn, and boom, he got identified. And then Twitter confirmed corresponding IDs. They went and tracked him down over at Gab, banned on Twitter. Number of articles came out. They're trying to identify this guy for posting these illegal memes. FBI agents scouring the Twitterverse. Who is him? Who is this guy? Now, he posted numerous statements about where he lived, and so they're investigating this guy. It's going to be like a Netflix series tracking down the illegal memer and his paintbrush in Microsoft Paint, copying and pasting memes. No disrespect. There were co-conspirator memers who were also out there. Look at these Twitter users, these 4 co-conspirators. Now, they use social media. They were on Twitter. They were sending messages. Apparently, he had 58,000 followers at the time. MIT Media Lab looked at this account. More widely known than many others, like Stephen Colbert, Newt Gingrich. They said that he was suspended for participating in targeted abuse. And he was sort of playing this cat and mouse game. Suspend him, come back. Suspend him, come back. Made a number of Twitter accounts, posted a bunch of stuff, sent it over. Another account had 9,000 followers. There were group DMs. Starting in 2015, he was also, illegal insurrectionist group DMs. Now, in the Proud Boys trial, which we're also talking about here, this is how they busted the whole. This is how they've, there's nothing really to bust. This is how they've conspired to create a conspiracy. They've mashed them all together, selected the worst of the worst Telegram posts, the worst of the worst group DMs, shared that, and then said that that is indicative of the entire conspiracy, even though it's not. We'll get there. These groups, which at times included dozens of individuals, had overlapping membership and so on, because it's just a bunch of goofballs on Twitter. They're talking about retweeting these election memes. I like this idea, somebody said in a group DM. They're talking about psyops and psychological operations to influence America. And those poor Hillary voters who don't know what memes are, they're going to text their vote in somewhere. They were in a group called Fed Free Hate Chat, which I guarantee was not free of any feds. Probably mostly feds in that group. Just as forewarning. If you're in a group that says there's no feds, probably at least one fed, I would guess. Be careful. Macky was a participant in the groups. Members of the groups discussed this. They discussed hashtag draft our daughters. Remember that? That this was an illegal hashtag, draft our daughters. They were saying that Hillary wanted to draft your daughters, and send them off to war, which I don't know, I don't think that was an actual policy position, but probably not that far from the truth. So that was hilarious, they said. It was eliciting sheer terror from the woman vote. They say, because women are like, well, it's, draft our daughters. Well, no, that's fine. Draft our sons. That's fine. Whatever. They're just part of the patriarchy anyways. Ship them overseas. Who cares? It doesn't matter what the war is, Afghanistan, Ukraine, whatever. As soon as it's draft our daughters, holy crap, Hillary wants to draft our daughters? So they're laughing their butts off. Says, I haven't seen a single issue make the lib women waver in this, right? So they're actually saying it's actually causing impact, right? This is the consequence of this. This is where now the DOJ says, see, it's not an illegal meme. It's not just a joke, okay? You're actually causing S-lib women to freak out. That's what causes the actual criminality of this. Draft our daughters. They posted it a number of times. They define normie for us, in case you're unfamiliar with this. You can play along at home. Ask yourself if you are a normie. This is going to be a very sort of discovery type of live stream today. Ask yourself, am I a normie? Here, ask yourself. Play along. Normie is a noun or adjective describing someone, often pejoratively or ironically, whose tastes and lifestyles are mainstream. That's from Merriam-Webster's dictionary. This is our government, man. So the co-conspirators, this is our government. The co-conspirators continued their efforts throughout the election. These co-conspirators, they were spreading more illegal memes in group DMs. They were trying to reach larger audiences to hijack popular hashtags with memes. They wanted to get hashtags trending and have outsized influence and generate conversations on the internet. They posted things like, we are the memes we've been waiting for. The memes are spreading. I'm starting to believe in the meme magic. It was a wild scene. I remember 2016. There were memes all over the place. It was crazy. There was meme magic. There was all sorts. It was madness, man. Says, I love how I can ask for photoshops, get them back in an hour. I aggregate content. I troll. I meme. I comment. You can collect really good images and meme collections and respond to high profile characters. Okay. Now, just to zoom out on this very quickly, this type of stuff is not just unique to this person, right? The left is doing this all the time. They have entire doxing teams. I mean, have you seen what like Antifa is able to cobble together on the J6 protesters? They're smarter than the FBI. More comprehensive. They got names and GPS records of everybody. They dox the whole thing. FBI still playing around with their crayons and coloring books trying to look for Lego kits. But these guys are it's goofing around. It's the same type, it's meme warfare. And that's a joke thing. Okay. Prosecutors, feds listening in the chat. It's a joke. So planted a lot of seeds in various groups. Macky and his associates express awareness of his ability to convey messages. Now they're going to call all the memes deceptive images, almost, like very, very, very hysterical, agents. They talk about targeted abuse. They assemble all of the co-conspirators. 12 minutes later, they're reposting more images and so on. Another screenshot. Posting illegal links. And somebody said, LOL, Ricky. How dare they? This is no laughing matter. Illegal memes. So as you fast forward, they distribute misinformation about voting. And at the bottom, they said, text the tweet. It was tweeted 175 times, favorited 165 times. Then he retweeted it on a second account 23 times, favorited 19 times. Then he retweeted it again. And this is interesting. So they actually got the number of responses, right? So they were measuring the numbers that came in. Said, text this number to vote for Hillary, available in Guam, and it's a joke. All right. Then they actually measured how many phone numbers came in. 4,900 unique phone numbers texted Hillary or some derivative. So do you think that was serious? Do you think those people thought that they voted? Like, oh, done. Wow, that was easy. This is great. I don't even have to leave the house. The government says that. Yeah, the government says that those people were duped into responding to that. They were deceived. Their vote was absconded with. Their constitutional rights were violated. Therefore, we request an arrest warrant and execution of the arrest warrant signed by Special Agent FBI Megan. Great work, everybody. So the illegal memer got arrested, and the trial is actually very short and over already. In fact, this is what it looks like. The trial was continued, and then we had one day, March 23rd, the one and only day, really, of trial in the illegal meme case. Everybody was in court. Prosecutors were there. Defense attorneys were there. Judge was Judge Ann Donnelly. Defendant Douglass Mackey is there. He's out on bond. Case was called. Looks like opening arguments. Witness is sworn in and testifies. Exhibits are marked, entered into evidence. That's it. Government rests. We're done. What? Defendant makes a Rule 29 motion for acquittal. Judge, they presented one witness and no evidence. This is the dumbest case ever. My client has free speech. This is ridiculous. Judge of acquittal. Judge says, well, motion's denied on the record. We'll pick back up with the defense case Monday, March 27th, 9:30 a.m. Now, there is a status conference that's held in the interim. That takes place on the 23rd as well. They're addressing some issues. Then we fast forward to the 24th. Appearances for the status conference. Nothing happens there that we can see. Then this morning, The day of trial, this is what Mackey's defense said. Coming from the office of Andrew J. Frisch out of New York, 17th floor. Submits this to the Judge Ann Donnelly. Says, Your Honor, I write on behalf of my client, Douglass Mackey, a.k.a. Ricky Vaughn, a.k.a. the illegal memer. To provide an update, I want to flag a few issues for you, Your Honor. 1, my client will not be calling FBI agent, Special Agent Reese, Megan, the one we just listened to, and is prepared to rest this morning. So Megan drafted this warrant here, and I'm not sure that she was even called as a witness. So the FBI presented somebody else. They're not calling her. So no witnesses, and they're prepared to rest. 2, defense attorney says, regarding the government's interview and reports from the Clinton campaign, so the Clinton campaign was providing a bunch of evidence, the government declined to call any additional witnesses. And I declined to call them on behalf of Mr. Mackey or request that any witness be recalled. So are these just interviews from the Clinton campaign, right? In other words, this is the Clinton campaign. Who are the victims here? Who are the people who are bringing the charge saying, I was harmed, my constitutional rights were violated, I'd like criminal prosecution, please? Was it the Clintons? And he's not even calling the FBI agent, meaning the FBI agent was not called by the government, the person who drafted the complaint, search warrant. So who is the witness? I proposed a stipulation about these interview reports, but the government did not respond. With the court's permission, I will supplement my motion for a mistrial based on the Clinton interview reports with my papers in support of my motion pursuant to Rule 29, the judgment for acquittal, if the jury comes back with a verdict of guilty. If it aids the court, I hereby renew my motion pursuant to the Rule 29, and as if made after the defense rested this morning. Okay. Says the following. I read through the transcripts last night. There's an error, page 14, line 20. Wrong date. Should be October 5th. Poor court clerk entered in at 2 over there. Delete that. And he also moves to strike the word Muslim based on the order of another judge. I emailed the government, but I didn't hear back from them. I request the government be prepared with an alternate version of this exhibit if the court sustains this objection. Respectfully yours, Andrew. Now, interesting. So that is where the case stands, and that's all we've got out of this. It's done and over and closed. So we don't actually have any real news on this today. Looks like the case is going to be handed off to the jurors, and we will see if there are rulings on this. But the defense rests, and Marjorie Taylor Greene is also upset about this. She posted on Twitter demanding action. She said that the political prosecution of Douglass Mackey for posting memes should terrify every single American. His crime? Meme posting. Garland and his cronies at the DOJ are charging Mackey with a subset of the Enforcement Act, otherwise known as the KKK Act, intended to criminalize physical violence and intimidation. Why is the DOJ now contorting the statute against people exercising their free speech with dissenting political views? We've seen individuals, she writes, charged with felonies, obstruction, but this is a new low. He was not involved in a riot. He posted funny images on social media the DOJ did not like, criminalizing this new category of disinformation. She's asking the charges be dropped. She sent a letter over to Attorney General Merrick Garland. Says, I call on you to order the charges to be dropped. Not going to happen. This letter went right into the shredder with a lot of the other letters that go over to the DOJ. But still, it is interesting. The DOJ is criminalizing disinformation. As we've talked about, there are all sorts of other individuals who are posting very similar types of content from favored political classes, and they don't get prosecuted with anything. So we'll see what the jury says when it comes back to Douglass Mackey, a.k.a. Ricky Vaughn. We'll continue to cover it. Thank you for subscribing wherever it is you're watching this, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one. All right, and so, my friends, now let's get in to the big one. It's day 44. We've got some serious business to attend to. Proud Boys trial, day 44 continues. We have a lot of questions about confidential human sources or FBI informants And one of them in particular is now speaking to the press. Her name is Jen Loh, and she gave 2 interviews, one to the FBI, and the New York Times also has some more details about this. And so before we go into the day's trial activities, where there are going to be some arguments about her and about what she can talk about and testify about. And so we got to get our bearings straight on this one. CNN reports the FBI informant named Jen speaks with CNN about her role in the Proud Boys trial. It says over the past year, a Texas woman named Jen Loh has been in touch, they say, been in touch with several Proud Boys now on trial for a seditious conspiracy, talking with members of the far-right group and their defense counsel about the case, suggesting possible witnesses and attorneys who could help. An FBI informant has been in touch with attorneys and possible witnesses. She was a paid FBI informant. That revelation threw a little wrench into the ongoing trial, no kidding. In an interview with CNN, Loh said she never told her FBI handlers anything about the Proud Boys. She said that she reported to the FBI mostly, about Antifa and split ways with the FBI after she and her handlers decided her testimony at trial would be an issue for the Proud Boys. Loh said she began communicating with the FBI in 2018, way before January 6th. According to the government, she was an informant from April 2020 up until January of this year. April? All the way till this year. Loh said she was only paid by the FBI once when she sent security footage of people harassing her at her home. Says Antifa kept harassing me, adding that since her name was revealed online, she's been receiving messages, bad messages, which I don't encourage at all. Loh, previously a member of Latinos for Trump, participated in Proud Boys text chats, had extensive communications with one of the defendants in prison, suggesting witnesses, suggesting attorneys, speaking with defendants in prison. She also suggested starting prayer groups with defendants' family members, according to defense counsel. Now, the defense attorneys threw a fit over this, said the case shouldn't proceed because the government didn't disclose her relationship. And then on Friday, as we picked up, we know that the defense just said, we're ready to call her, actually. You know what? We're ready. We don't need any other conversation about it. We've got a lot of questions. Bring her on the stand. Judge said, hold on a minute on Friday. Hold on. We don't know what you can ask her about. And back then we were asking, what's the force field going to look like? What is this going to be finagled to become? The role of FBI informants has become a central focus of this. They say we're conspiracy theorists. I don't know what is a conspiracy about this. Is she a confidential informant or not? The answer is yes. They assert that it was a trap to make supporters of the former president look bad. Well, as far as we know, in this one trial, there's at least 2-to-1 of informants to Proud Boys on trial as defendants. The fight also underscores the battle over this. 5 defendants are on trial. Informants are paid by the FBI, can be authorized to take actions that would otherwise be illegal, like entering Capitol grounds. You're kidding. FBI agent Nicole Miller was on the stand. And the defense attorney says not a single informant told the government that there was a plan, not one of them. Now, this is such an important point. We're going to see that the judge ultimately keeps this informant out of the trial, or keeps the important parts of this informant out of the trial. The reason why this is so critical is they're saying there was a conspiracy. The government is alleging that's one of the charges, conspiracy. If there was a conspiracy, wouldn't that be corroborated by all of the CHSs, all of the informants who were also there? None of them have said that to corroborate it. And we haven't been able to ask them anything about this because the judge has not been allowing them to testify. Why is that? Not a single person that the Proud Boys planned to storm the Capitol. At some point, one of the defense lawyers, as we talked about here, said, I'm not an informant, because it's such a joke. Now, that was one interview. Now we have another one or another news report. The New York Times also tells us that there was an unusual number of informants. This is from the New York Times that the FBI had in or near the group. Even before the trial began, defense lawyers suggested that the Bureau had as many as 8 informants in the far right organization. 8. 5 of them are on trial. So, who has the bigger conspiracy here? They make up more of the group than the Proud Boys. The FBI makes up more of the group by numbers. 5 informants, 5 defendants to 8 informants. Why didn't the informants just outvote the insurrection plan or something? So at least one of them from the Kansas City chapter was in the throng that marched on the Capitol that day. On Wednesday, new court papers revealed that there was yet another informant in the orbit, one who became uncommonly close. The newly disclosed informant, a Texas-based activist named Jen Loh, took part in prayer meetings. Some of the defendants' relatives, had multiple contacts with the defendants themselves while they were in jail. She was also in touch with some of the defense lawyers in the case, making what one of them, Nicholas Smith, called a, quote, constant drumbeat of detailed inquiries, which Mr. Smith said he had ignored. Carmen Hernandez, another defense lawyer working on the case, described Ms. Loh as has been doing a, quote, surreptitious invasion from a defense lawyer. 2 of them have said this now, of the Proud Boys defense team. She demanded this week the government turn over any reports or other informants who may have gathered information on the defense. Do you think we're going to get those reports before we get to determine whether they can ask this witness about her informant status in front of the trial? Let's see. Prosecutors have insisted that they never asked Miss Loh. We never asked her. I mean, I don't know what she gave us. She just brought the briefcases in. She just brought the video recordings and the audio files. We never asked her for those. Whose real name is Jen Salinas. They never asked her to cozy up to the defendants, their relatives, or their lawyers. In fact, they said in court papers filed on Thursday, they cut ties with her 2 months ago after learning that she planned to appear in the trial that they had already been preparing. All right. This trial's been going on for years. The physical trial has not, but the pretrial proceedings have. So the government had a mole called Jen Loh, called Jen Salinas, who was hanging out, cozying up to the defendants, their lawyers, meeting with them, starting prayer groups and all sorts of stuff, all the way up to it. And then right when trial looks like it's going to happen, the government goes, oof, yikes. Maybe we should cut ties with her. And they didn't even tell the defense at that time. They just told the defense when they said, we're going to call her tomorrow. In an interview on Friday, Ms. Loh said that she had never spied on the Proud Boys or their lawyers. Yeah, okay. And said that the FBI never asked her any questions directly related to the trial that's now unfolding in federal district court. Oh, good. All right, that's it. That settles everything. That's great. She says she promises, so she never spied on them. Yeah. And she's obviously got a long record of, well, she's got a pretty clear record of being an informant and not disclosing that. So we'll use that to our credibility bank. So they never asked her any questions directly related to the trial. She also confirmed that she parted ways with the Bureau when she started talking with Mr. Tarrio's lawyers. Yeah. Ms. Loh maintained that while she provided the government information about some of the defendants before the trial began, do you see? It's in the same article. It's just like they never asked. Okay, so who cares? She still gave it to them. That she still provided the government with some information about him. So they were still getting it. It's technical nonsense. Her interest in the families and their legal situations was genuine. She says this is amazing. It's hard to see people calling me a rat and a Fed and things like that. I think it's sad that we've gotten so polarized in this country. What? So a literal confirmed FBI informant, aka a Fed, is upset that people are calling her a Fed. calls it polarized. Yeah, this country is really polarized. I can't believe it. It's really a sad thing that we don't accept FBI informants in our lives. We should just accept them and come spy on us and whatever. I can't believe you're calling me a rat. I can't believe you're calling me a Fed. Are you a Fed? Well, yeah. Did you get paid by the feds? Yeah. Did you give them FBI about the defendants? Yeah. Did you join and talk to their lawyers? Yeah. Did you show up at their offices in Miami? Yeah. Did you? Then you're a Fed. Sorry. That's your doing. Now, to put the hat on the other foot, who knows what the FBI was doing to her? The FBI and the DOJ, they have a very pernicious way of twisting people's arms and making them do things and contorting people. We're going to arrest your whole family and you're going to go to prison forever and all that. I don't know if that happened here. So if there's any grace at all to afford a Fed informant, you can give them that grace there. But I'm not so sure. This sounds like she was there for several years, and I don't think she's even upset about it. She's like, first of all, I wasn't on the payroll. I didn't actually work for the FBI. They never gave me a badge. Therefore, I'm not a Fed. Therefore, I'm not a rat because I actually have never even been to the zoo. So I don't know. What are you talking about? Now, the use of informants on January 6th has been a simmering issue. You're kidding me. Yeah, for most of the Justice Department, when they started bringing charges for more than 2 years, some in the right-wing media, honk honk, have sought to promote the idea that the Bureau instigated the assault through proxies, acting on the ground on its behalf. Well, in this case, there are more confirmed, or let's say speculated, the government hasn't confirmed anything, but we have names of more CHSs, FBI informants, than we have Proud Boys on trial. They've largely dismissed the notion that FBI wielded anyone as an agent provocateur. Well, the judge hasn't allowed them to do that. He says, this attorney says no. He says, I think it's slander. I don't think that they actually instigated anything. All right. Well, instead, the lawyers made a different point, arguing that it is exculpatory and it contradicts the central allegation that there was a plan, right? If there was this overarching plan, right, amongst all the Proud Boys, wouldn't that plan have also percolated and permeated to all of the other informants? Wouldn't they have known? Yeah, we're going into the Capitol that day. That is the plan. And so if there's 8 of them and none of them knew about it, isn't that relevant to the trial? Shouldn't the defense be able to call them in and say, you were an alleged member of the Proud Boy. Did you know about the plan? No. Did you know about the plan? No. Did you? You work for the government, right? Did you ever tell them about the plan? No. Did they ever ask you? Did they ever express concern? Did they ever tell you to get out of there? Call us if it's going down? Like a scene in one of those movies, all these FBI agents sitting around in, an office building across from the building they're monitoring. Are they insurrecting yet? What's the insurrection plan? What are they doing with all of these informants? The defense has upended the standard pattern of rather than attacking the informants, rather embrace them. Yeah, bring them out. Another FBI informant, Kenneth Lizardo, also was avoided. He didn't have to testify. On the day before the Capitol attack, Mr. Lizardo accompanied Mr. Tarrio, who was himself a former FBI informant, to a meeting with Stewart Rhodes, who was best friends with Ray Epps. We were walking, I don't know if they're best friends, but they were walking around together in Arizona at Oath Keeper meetings. They're all in the same circle. At that time, Mr. Rhodes, Chief Lieutenant Greg McWhorter, was also working as an informant for the Bureau. Look at this sentence. Look at this paragraph here. What are we looking at? On the day before the Capitol attack, Lizardo accompanies Tarrio. Former informant is picked up by a current informant, meets up with Stewart Rhodes. His informant status is yet to be known, but he was hanging out with Ray Epps, who is very likely an informant, unconfirmed, because he was on the FBI's most wanted list and then not charged. And the lieutenant of the Oath Keepers, Greg McWhorter, was also an informant. So basically, 80% of this group is FBI. Stewart Rhodes is the only one unconfirmed, but he had his pal Ray Epps there. 80% of this group has some contact with the FBI. While not much is known about the identities, there is a private log of messages. Danny Mack is also another one. Mention an informant. He led a Proud Boys chapter in New Jersey. He had a relationship with the FBI that lasted several months around the time of J6. Added as many as 20 other members as well. Loh began working with the FBI San Antonio 2018, 2019. Then she got paid. More recently, she's been active in helping, assisting people charged in the attack in fundraising. Defense lawyer said there are more informants than there are defendants. It's disgusting, and they're being prosecuted for this. That's where we left off. Now, don't we think that's relevant? Isn't that interesting to know if you're a juror and you're charging 5 defendants with conspiracy, if there are not other people there who are a part of the conspiracy who aren't aware of the conspiracy? Or was it just the 5 guys who were just going to insurrect? Like, didn't they need the rest of the Proud Boys, or was it just the 5 of them? Nuts. So that's FBI informant Jen Loh. We turn our attention over to Roger Parloff. Day 44, Proud Boys trial. He is live tweeting it. Questions about a confidential human source. We left off last week with George Meza. Apparently this guy here on the left. And he was talking yesterday, on Friday, about being Jewish. And I think they brought him out, this is right, because he was saying that he was not anti-Semitic or racist. Let's fast forward. Judge Kelly is back on the bench, day 44. All rise. Please be seated. He says, all right, everybody, welcome back. I know we're going to be picking up with the defense witness, George Meza. Before we get back to that witness, we're going to talk about some videos that I want to show. And the government said that they want to show this stuff. And so we're going to go ahead and admit it. I do think it is relevant. So we are going to allow it in. So win for the government, of course. Why not? Monday morning. First one, government, you want a video in? What do you need it for? Bias? Perfect. It's coming in. Great. He says, second, I know you're getting ready to call this Jen Loh, this FBI informant that was kind of explosive last week. She came and visited your office and all this stuff. Wow. He says, I've been thinking a lot about this over the weekend. And when it comes down to Jen, I just think that nothing about her relationship with the FBI is relevant in this trial. What? You say what, Judge? Wait a minute. You're talking about Jen Loh, the same informant who was hanging out with these guys all throughout these years, who was close with their families, who could provide information about the conspiracy that the government is alleging, who would have had intent or would have had a direct path to the government to share anything that was concerning, right? She could have shared with them. They're going to steal the country, man. They're going to steal the Capitol. She could have communicated that to her handlers. We can't ask her about that at all. It's not relevant. Nothing about that is relevant. It's also maybe a due process problem. She was influencing the conversation with the attorneys. She was trying to set prayer meetings, doing fundraising. But nothing about her years with the FBI is relevant. Judge says, I'm feeling pretty good about this decision too. I'm going to exclude it. So you can call your witness, but you can't ask about the FBI at all. This whole status as an informant, not even relevant. Literally, it's not relevant, which is such a low bar. It's kind of nuts because the Proud Boys, their entire defense is that they're a subset of a bigger conspiracy. The government is saying they were the conspirators. They were going to attack the Capitol. And they're saying, no, we were not. Actually, this is not their defense. This is my defense, is that no, they were not. There were confidential human sources all over the place who were fabricating this conspiracy. It doesn't exist. These were a bunch of people there protesting. They were there to have a good time. They were incredibly disorganized by most measures. There was no plan. The FBI has all sorts of problematic evidence that they have accidentally disclosed in this case, and the judge has conveniently ignored, papered right over. So when you add it all up, it's extremely relevant because the Proud Boys are a subset of a bigger conspiracy. They need to be able to show that bigger conspiracy. In this case, the government is the one responsible for the bigger conspiracy, is part of my defense. Now, again, Smith is not making that argument. Their attorney, because, well, the judge would never allow that argument in the first place. He's not even allowing any conversation about the CHSs. He excludes it, even though it's a critical part of your defense. Of course. Now, why is the judge doing this? Well, the judge is pretty much dug in at this point. We're in the middle of a trial. He definitely does not want this train to come off the tracks. And if it does, well, then he just kept 5 people who have been spied on by the FBI with FBI informants in attorney meetings. These people have been housed in subpar conditions. One of them at least has no violent crimes at all. He's been held in custody. This seditious conspiracy thing would evaporate overnight if this train goes off the track. And he's not going to allow that to happen. So we were asking ourselves, and I'm honestly a little bit surprised about this today. I thought that we would get some conversation about the FBI, some part of it. Nothing, not even a little bit. He excludes the whole thing. Let's carry on. The judge rationalizes this. He says, you know why? This is not like the other informants that we've discussed. He says people who were CHS's informants on J6 says this person's relationship did not formalize until after January 6th, and even informal relationship before January 6th is irrelevant. I don't care. And we're asking ourselves, what? I mean, they're trying to show that there was this big intentional plan. A conspiracy is like 2 or more people conspiring to do a thing, And if all of these CHSs were part of this Proud Boy conspiracy of seditious insurrection, seditious conspiracy, why is that not appropriate? And why is her not messaging that to the FBI not relevant? Now, he says she wasn't reporting on Proud Boys. And that's not true at all, as we saw from this article. She actually said that specifically. Says that while Loh maintained that while she provided the government information about some of the defendants before the trial began, her interest was still genuine. So that's just not accurate, right? She actually did give them information, according to the New York Times. Now, this judge has already made his decision. We didn't get an evidentiary hearing. We didn't get the government to give us the full file. What does the informant file say? What did she give you? You say you didn't ask for it. You say you didn't task her to do it. But what did she get you regardless? The judge says, no, she wasn't reporting on the Proud Boys. Yes, she was. So he just parlays that and he says, therefore, there's no good faith basis to ask her questions suggesting any impropriety by the FBI. You don't think an FBI informant in your attorney meetings with you and your client, I think that is improper. I think it's unethical. I think it's reprehensible. But the judge says it's not a good faith basis. And you can see, I think that everything he's doing here is legally justifiable. He's not breaking any rules. He's not doing anything that is even probably reversible. Maybe some of this is. I don't know exactly what's going on in court. But he has the authority to make these decisions. Say, it's not relevant. This is only about these very specific charges. And it's only about the conspiracy between these 5 guys, and anything else about other informants or what the FBI really thought about this. I mean, this is all relevant to the other portions of evidence that have been dripped out. Remember, we had the spreadsheet where they talked about having just enough to get over the hurdle to not make themselves look like fools by prosecuting these guys. Is this enough? Can we get over the conspiracy charge? All of this talk about CHSs and informants would shatter that argument. It would say the FBI, their own informants, weren't even aware of a conspiracy. But the judge won't let him talk about it. He gives her the benefit of the doubt. He says this informant's contacts with the defense camp are easily explained by her sympathy for the defendants. She cared about them, man. We can't blame her for just caring about these people. That's why she was talking to the lawyers. That's why she was making special trips, special time out of her day to go talk to them. It's not because the FBI was nudging her to do that. No. The FBI don't have a history of snooping on attorney-client phone calls, do they? Oh, yeah, they do in this case, too, with Zach Reel. Carmen Hernandez made the same argument, saying that they were snooping on his emails because he pressed the checkbox. So this judge is just defaulting to her sympathy. Says the FBI didn't assign her anything, okay? They didn't task her to do anything, and she wasn't ordered or asked to do any of this stuff. The fact that she did it because she cared about him. She's a good person. She's working with the FBI. Very good person. Easily explained. I don't think so. I think it's a contortion. This judge does not want this case to get dismissed. So he just goes on by that one. He says, now I think another defense witness who might be a confidential source. Papers over that, moves on. Prosecutor chimes in. He says, Your Honor, now this witness has been identified by the defense. There's been reporting about him. No threats about this person, but it's unusual to allow this person to testify under a pseudonym. Judge Kelly says, well, I mean, a pseudonym might work. He says, yeah, prosecutor says that's only appropriate if his life's in danger. He says, well, I kind of like the idea of letting him do a pseudonym. They're continuing on. The jury's not even in yet. So Tarrio's lawyer says, Judge, I object to these exhibits. They debate over some of these exhibits. Video is coming in. Uh-oh, court reporter's a little bit sick before the jury's brought in. Parloff says, court reporter's not feeling well. Going to take a brief break. Says, we're going to need a new court reporter. Some additional delay. Now, Judge Kelly comes back. New court reporter's in. Couple more documents that they're fighting over. Let's see what we have here. This is from Meza. He says he was kicked out of one of the chats. They say it's duplicative. These look like messages about the telegrams. Now, Carmen Hernandez is back. Says, Your Honor, I am objecting to what you said about this confidential human source. We want to be able to talk about her status as an FBI informant, and I'm objecting to your ruling and so on. Defense attorney Tarrio, or for Tarrio, Jeriguai stands up and he says, yeah, you know what? Now, Judge, now that you made that ruling, that I can't ask her anything about anything that I wanted to ask her about, her only utility as a witness, you just shattered. Thanks. Says we're not even going to call her today. So thanks, I guess. Can she be released from her subpoena? Says we're not calling her at all. What's the point? Judge says, yeah, sure. You don't. Perfect. That's great. I don't want to hear from her either because she's an FBI informant. She would wreck my case. Exactly what I wanted. You're free to go, man. So next witness is going to be somebody called Fernando Alonso. Then we'll get another witness. Hernandez is complaining. She's standing up. Your Honor, this is ridiculous. There is a difference of treatment between how you treat us and how you treat the government in terms of providing notice to the other side. Prosecutor says that's ridiculous. You're just a complaining defense attorney. Norm Pattis stands up. He says, no, she's not. She's absolutely right. And the judge says, all right, pipe down, you two. Bring in the jurors. Jurors come in. Now, the witness from last week was somebody named George Meza, a.k.a. Asher Meza, a.k.a. Ash Bar Koziba. Up on the stand, prosecutor is cross-examining and says, okay there, Mr. Meza, remind me why you were kicked out of the chat. He says, well, I was kicked out. I'm not exactly sure what day I was kicked out. They pull up the date. He says, what kind of talk were you guys talking about in the chats? Well, there was a lot of locker room talk. He says there were anti-Semitic posts. He says, I was known for looking for anti-Semitic posts. There was another message in here. It said something like this. So are normies going to push through police lines and storm the Capitol? Did you see that? No, I didn't see that one. There's another message here. It says, this effing mayor of DC is preventing us from having a voice. F peace. Did you see this one? Mesa is supposed to be moderating the chat. He says, no, I didn't see that one. He says, these are trivial, okay? The vast majority of all these messages were peaceful. This is just part of the riffraff. So prosecutors going through these messages, he says, oh, you're a moderator, right? You're supposed to monitor these chats, and you're letting all these messages come through? What about this one? He says, no, I didn't see that one either. Well, what about the main chat? You said that you were part of that chat, but that chat was deleted? He says, yeah, the chat was nuked after Tario's arrest, and I wasn't invited to the new one. But you were in a different chat, weren't you? Yeah. Boots on the ground? Yeah. I want to show you these messages. He says, well, I don't recognize these messages. Put some messages up on the screen. He says, this can't be accurate. I was kicked out of that chat, so those messages aren't mine. Prosecutor says, are you sure? Those aren't your messages? No, they're not accurate. Are you denying posting these messages? He says, well, I can't verify this. It's hard to believe that they'd allow me back in after they kicked me out. The average Proud Boy didn't even know that this chat existed. Objection, sidebar. Well, I want to show you this message on January 9th. Message says, there's one thing I'd like to say regarding this. Message from Mesa in the chat. So you were in the chat on January 9th, weren't you? No, actually, this was a shared post. Looks like I did it, but I didn't. I was kicked out of the group, so somebody shared my video. Oh. So you made a video, if not now, then when, right? Yeah. And it ended that video with Uhuru Bros. Is that right? Yeah. And on January 6th, you came within 15 feet of the Columbus doors. Is that true? May have even been closer. And you saw violence. I saw mass hysteria, and I saw people emoting. You saw officers being assaulted? No. Plays the video again. Shows violent police outside Columbus. You see the officers right there? Yeah. You see those officers pinned against the door? Says, I see officers who are being thanked for doing their jobs and who are being pepper sprayed by other officers. Prosecutor says, you were right there when all this was happening, weren't you? Yeah. You remained in the area for some time? No, I didn't actually. Prosecutor says, oh, really? I want to show you this exhibit. Is this you? That's 3 hours later after we left and came back. Is it you? Is what I asked. Yes. The video, according to Roger, says it's Mesa. He's in body armor, mask over his face. He's playing something into the microphone. Proud Boys are wearing black today. They say, this is our house. This election was stolen. Patriots are rising up. Mesa says, well, I'm not sure about that last statement. I'm not sure what that one said. Prosecutor says, I'll replay it then. Did you say patriots are rising up? He says, yeah, I said it. Now the video finishes with Uhuru. Prosecutor turns back over to Mesa. Says, if not now, when? You called this a glorious event, didn't you? Yeah. You said that what happened was called for, right? Yeah. You said that this was the most patriotic act in the last 100 years. Did you say that? Yes, and I believe that. Prosecutor now plays a selfie video. In the video, Mesa is saying these things from his car, bunch of different statements. One of those is F. When is violence justified? Prosecutor says, oh, is that how you feel? Is that how you felt on that day? He says, that's how I feel now. He says, you said founding fathers revolted against the crowd for less. Is that what you said? Yeah, I did. That's historical. You said, if not now, then when? And you also said, we'll become a socialist country. And you're also referring to stopping a problem with the election. He says, well, yeah, I said that. I mean, that's the name of the rally. That's the cause we're given. So that was the purpose then, wasn't it? To go to the Capitol and to stop the election? No, we were there to support the candidate and to hope that Pence would do the right thing through violence, right? No, that's not what I said. But you said violence is the only language tyrants understand. Well, I didn't coin the language, but I mean, yeah, they did say that. And that's how you felt at that time? Yes. Are you ashamed of what happened to attack tyrants? Is a quote. Prosecutor says, you were attacking, right? I myself did not do any attacking, says Meza. He says, I was performing security. But you attacked the Columbus door on January 6th, right? No, I did not. You said wear this attack as a badge of honor. You said that January 6th was a glorious event to you. Yeah, that's what I said. Prosecutor says done. So this is the prosecutor, I think, getting a lot of admissions encouragement about this event, right? And I don't think that's going to play well with the DC jury. So I'm not sure what the defense is going to do. Let's see. Hassan for Enrique Tarrio is now up defense attorney. He goes back over to George Meza. Hassan asks him, defense attorney, I want to go back to the rally November 2020, not January 6th. When you were there in November, did you impede law enforcement? No. Did you assault law enforcement? No. Did you strike the Metro PD or the Capitol Police when you were there? No. In November, was there banter related to Antifa between you and the Proud Boys? Yeah. I want to go back to December now. Same questions. Any violence? No. Did you assault law enforcement? No. Did you assault the Metro PD? No. So you were there in November and there was no problems, right? Yeah. You were there in December. There were no problems, right? If there were issues, what were they related to? He says protecting Americans. So what were you doing there? We were standing in harm's way. The core of our organization is reactionary. We do things others don't because we don't want innocent Americans to be harmed for political reasons. We don't think it's fair that people who support a certain candidate should be bullied. Defense says. Now, I want to discuss your service in the military. Prosecutor brought up that you were discharged under other than honorable circumstances. Is that true? He says, yeah, I was in 11 Bravo, 82nd Airborne. I tried to change my MOS. I wanted to become a chaplain's assistant. I tried to negotiate and renegotiate my contract, but they wouldn't let me. One thing people do is they go AWOL for 6 months, they turn themselves in, and then they get an other than honorable discharge. Simply because I wanted to change my designation. He says it's basically just a way to withdraw. But they didn't arrest you or anything, did they? Well, I mean, they do put out a warrant, but they didn't come to my door or anything, no. Defense says, well, I want to show you this exhibit. It's from a chat called MOSD Main, which was the Ministry of Self-Defense, the main chat. It's a blank message from Meza, January 3rd, and apparently a Proud Boy called Gabriel Garcia responded. Have you ever seen this? He says, no, I've never seen this message from Garza. Defense says, so you were in this chat. Were you ever tasked with policing the chat for anti-Semitic comments? He says, well, I just did that when I came across it. I mean, I wasn't out there searching for these comments, but when I came across a bad comment, I would deal with it. But you see this post here in this chat, right? Is that a bot? He says, yes. No, actually, I don't think it is a bot. It sounds like Tarrio. He says, but if it is Tarrio, then he programmed the bot, and the bot provides new entrants. And so the bot welcomes people with general instructions. So it's not Tarrio, it's just a bot that Tarrio programmed. Okay, so Tarrio programmed instructions when people entered into the chat room. Is that what you're saying? Yeah. So when somebody entered the chat, was there any instructions by the Proud Boys that just populated automatically to be at the Capitol on January 6th? No. So I want to draw it back to a certain blue badge that you were wearing on January 6th. What does this say? It says back the blue. Oh, that's interesting. What's next to that badge? Well, next there, I have an Israeli flag. In the back, I have a badge of the 82nd Airborne. And I also have a Don't Tread on Me badge. So what were you doing there on January 6th? Well, I was backing the police. Was Enrique Tarrio backing the police? Yes, he says. He could have violated the court order to show up, but he honored the court order. Remember, Enrique wasn't even there on the day. Hassan is now asking, this is the defense attorney. He says, but you said, if not now, when in that video, didn't you? Who was saying that? And Meza says, those were my views. Did Tarrio tell you to say that? No. He actually says Tarrio was believing the opposite of me. He was interviewed a week afterward, after January 6th, and said, objection, hearsay, sustained. Defense says, well, I want to show you this other chat. This is the MOSD Zoom video chat from December 31st. Prosecutor objects outside the scope. Judge looks like he sustains that. Defense comes back. Well, I want to ask you about Tarrio's feelings about January 6th. He says, how did you become aware of Tarrio's feelings? I saw an interview on objection, sustained. Did he express his feelings to you? Right, that's hearsay. That's Tarrio talking out of court. Did he express his feelings to you? Yes. Were they contrary to those you expressed on video? Objection, sidebar. They come back. Defense says, okay, with regards to Tarrio, let me just clear this out. You had a friendly relationship with him, right? Yeah. Was he more of a showboater or not a showboater? Objection, sustained. Did he like to razzle dazzle the crowd? Objection, sustained. Was Tarrio's persona in the Proud Boys? Can you describe that to me? Well, he was the chairman. And did he do the Proud Boy responses to the media? Yeah. And were those responses over the top sometimes? Objection, sustained. What were those responses? Objection, sustained. Hassan's like, all right, forget it. I'm done. And he finishes. No further questions. He's frustrated. Roger says, all right, well, that witness was a disaster. Judge says, all right, good Lord. All right, we ought to take a break here. This isn't going well. Says attorneys, hang tight for a minute. So the jurors take a break. They go outside. A lot of objections there. Judge says, all right, here's what the deal is. Meza, we played these videos. Now, I'm going to give the jurors a limiting instruction. I'm going to say that they can only admit these videos for the purposes of impeaching his direct testimony and showing bias, but not for anything else. All right. The videos that we saw can just only be useful to George Meza. They can't go against the Proud Boys in any other way other than to impeach his testimony. Impeachment and bias, it can't show that there was a conspiracy or that they were obstructing or any of the other things. Prosecutor says, well, Your Honor, hold on a minute. The jury can use it for evaluating credibility as well, whether he's credible or not. And Hernandez says, well, we'll just leave it at impeachment. The judge says, well, credibility is more accurate. So we'll use the word credibility. Next witness is going to be another Proud Boy. They come back in 10 minutes. Now, there were some photos being spread around on this, but I can't vouch for those. And so neither can Roger Parloff. So I'm not even sure those are accurate. So we'll just fly by those. But we come back and Judge Kelly is back after the break. Defense attorney for Enrique Tarrio, Sabino Jaraguay, stands up. Your Honor, the defense calls Fernando Alonso. He comes in, he promised all the truth. I do. Please be seated. Fernando, can you tell me a little bit about yourself? Where are you from? I'm from Miami, Florida. Oh, you flew all the way here today? Well, that's great. Where were you born? Well, I was born in Mexico, raised in Michigan. What do you do these days? Well, I'm an entrepreneur. I've got 3 children. And are you a member of the Proud Boys? Yeah, I am currently. When did you join? 2018. And what rank are you, Alonzo? He says, 4th degree. And if you've been following along here for some time, you remember that the 4th degree Proud Boys, this has already come up in this trial, and they tell us that if you're a 4th degree, that means you may have engaged in some sort of violence, maybe some sort of aggression. But it doesn't necessarily have to be you went and caused the violence. It could also be defensive violence. And there's also other rules. Let's see what happened here. You're a 4th degree Proud Boy. That means you're a violent person, doesn't it? No, he says. Well, I achieved the 4th degree due to a hardship. Oh, that's interesting. It says I suffered loss in my business, and that qualifies. So I'm a fourth degree because I got doxxed by Antifa and I lost a contract and my business got wrecked by those losers. He says, "Are you guys white supremacists in the Proud Boys?" He says, "Well, no. I mean, the media portrays us as white supremacists, but I'm a Latino. I don't see how that works, but I lost a contract because Antifa said I'm a racist white guy, even though I'm not. I'm Latino." Were you at a December rally with the Proud Boys? Yeah, I was there on December 12th, 2020. Can you tell me about the Proud Boys? Who was in charge during that time? He says, yeah, Enrique Tarrio was the president of the chapter I was involved in. I was there in Miami. Are you in any of the various Proud Boy Telegram groups? Says, yeah, many of them. Actually, too many. Actually, probably 7 or 8 Proud Boy Telegrams. I was in the Ministry of Self-Defense members chat. My understanding was there was only going to be another rally on January 6th, and Enrique Tarrio didn't want anything bad to happen, except insurrecting the Capitol, obviously. Local DC chapter didn't want us to come at all. So we came to DC anyways on January 5th at night by car. Was there a plan when you guys got there? Were you plotting your insurrection forts? Were you pitching tents to establish bases of command or anything? No, there was no plan set up other than when we got there. There's no chatter in the chats or anything about storming the Capitol. Nothing? You guys weren't going to plan your insurrection? No, that was ludicrous. Okay. No understanding at all of our purpose. So you said Enrique Tarrio was there and in charge, right? Yeah. And at some point, Enrique was no longer in charge. Can you tell me what happened? Yeah. Enrique Tarrio was arrested a couple days before out in Baltimore before he was picked up by Eddie Lizardo. No. I don't know, somebody named Lizardo, Kenny Lizardo, whose chat picked him up and drove him back into DC. After Tarrio got arrested, the chat was deleted. When did you find out that chat message was deleted? Found out 30 minutes prior. I found out 30 minutes prior we were going to meet at the mall at 10 a.m. Jaraguay now shows a video. Can you tell me what's happening in this video? He says, well, nothing really. We're all just kind of standing around. We had about 100 guys, I'd say. That was all in the MOSD chapter. When I got there, there were like maybe more than 100 guys, but I was like, what is this? We had no idea what was happening. Most guys I saw that day, I didn't even know. Everyone was in regular clothes. In the chat, you don't see people's names or photos, so you just don't really know what's going on. Says Jay plays more of Eddie Block's video of them near the Washington Monument. And hey, speaking of Eddie Block, look who just sent in a super chat. Look who is in the chat. Eddie Block is here. What's up, Eddie? Eddie says in the chat, he says, got my fourth when Antifa swung on me, hit me in the face, and I knocked him out. Again, protecting a woman when Antifa hit me with a chain, all on video. So under attack from Eddie Block, from Antifa, confirmed in real time. Good to see you, Eddie. Thanks for being here, Eddie. Hopefully you're driving safely, my friend, coming back from testifying. Now, and by the way, he's on YouTube also, right? That was Eddie Block Films. So if you're not already subscribed over to Eddie Block Films, he's sharing his story. And he's got a real good boy over there named Donald J. Trump, who deserves some belly rubs. So they're playing Eddie's film. They ask, do you have any organizational structure to what we're watching here? No, not at all. We're just meeting new people. Was there any kind of a plan at all when you got there? None. Any agreement? None. Any objective? None that I'm aware of. Plays another clip, still at the Washington Monument. You all are standing around here. Do you have any idea? Do you have any understanding of what you were going to be doing here? No, none at all. You heard somebody say something like no press around. You remember that? He says, yeah. The idea of the Ministry of Self-Defense going there is that we didn't want any attention. We didn't want to draw any attention to ourselves or to our club. It wasn't like previous rallies. We didn't want to be doxxed. The media portrays us in a certain way. People have lost their jobs. It's a private club. Clip is playing again. Nordine's on the camera giving instructions. Leaders are over here, members are over there. Defense attorney quotes the video. He says, "Look good. Slow, steady pace. We're gonna do a meet and greet." He's reading this back to Alonzo. What does this mean? He says it means don't do anything stupid. He says we knew we were being filmed. It means be proud of who you are. Not there to be aggressive. We're there as peacekeepers. But in this video, when he says developing the front lines, what does that mean? It means who's going to be out in front. And have you done rallies with Enrique Tarrio before? No. We did flag waves at a Cuban restaurant in Miami. Probably preparation for Insurrection Day. Did Tarrio contact law enforcement when he went to these places? Yeah, he always did. Now they show another video. They're saying F Antifa, F Antifa. Who are all these people following you here, Alonzo? He says, I'm not sure. It was either reporters or I don't know. I'm not sure who they were. They're not with us. Would you stop for photo ops when you were walking with the Proud Boys? Well, I don't think they were photo ops. You see this person walking right here in this group here with you guys? Alonzo says, yeah. Is that a Proud Boy? I don't think so. This guy with the boom microphone, with the big long microphone out there, who's that? So everybody, I don't know, CNN, press was there, could be all sorts of people. Now, all of this was being recorded, and during the breaks in the march, did you and your fellow Proud Boys talk about any secret plans, so to speak, insurrection plans? No, not at all. You were just walking towards the Capitol? Yeah. Did you have an objective when you were walking there? No, just go into the Capitol somewhere along the line. We're going to say a prayer. Did you have a plan to attack the Capitol? Absolutely not. If so, I would have stopped walking right then. They play the video some more. Was a plan hatched at this point in the video? He says there was no plan hatched at any point. Was there an agreement? An agreement about what? An objective. He says the objective was to stop and do a prayer. I mean, that's the only thing I knew of. I don't know what the heck you're talking about, man. You're weirding me out right now. Stop with all these weird questions. So they play the video some more. Nordine's on the camera. He says, let's go make a presence, a meet and greet, and look good. Alonzo says it's about making a presence, saying a prayer, and heading back. He says, was there some sort of a secret code to attack the Capitol? Like, did your secret rings get activated and tell you to unite or something? He says, no. Scoffing laugh. No, what? What kind of a stupid question? A secret code to attack the Capitol? No. Okay, this isn't some sort of a Disney Nicolas Cage film or something like that. All right, leave me alone. There is no secret code in the Proud Boys. They play some more videos. You hear this? Recognizing whose streets? Our streets. He says, yeah, I do. Do you know who these people with cameras are? He says, the people with cameras? I mean, I think they're just reporters, no? So it's fair to say that the reporters were following you. Is that true? He says, yeah, they were following us. Did they follow you every step of the way over to the Washington Monument? He says, yeah, they did. They followed us a lot. What's this man carrying right here in this video? He says, well, that appears to be a camera. Apparently the Proud Boys are kneeling and praying. Oh my gosh. Probably their pre-insurrection prayers. Yeah. Lord, we ask you for strength to seize this podium. Defense says, you see all these people with cameras? They're taking photos and leading. Does that look right? Yeah. He says, from the moment we got to the Washington Monument, reporters rushed us and they followed us everywhere we went. On the video, it's playing F Antifa. What were you doing right here? Here, nothing, just stopping. We stopped around noon, more or less. We were going to grab a bite, eat. Well, why were you standing right there in front of the Capitol? Well, we stopped there to eat. The decision to stop there was basically on the go. We just decided. And how about here? Here, we're just standing around because there was no objective at this point. Well, who are these men over here in this video? I think those are reporters. And how about these guys? Oh, that's Joe Biggs, who's a defendant in this case. Don't know him. Says they're getting their pictures taken. There's a big photo op. Where are you going now? I don't know. I don't know if we had a place to go or if we just started walking. And what are you doing here? Well, there are food trucks in this area. We were around there for a while. There's a bunch of food trucks and no objective. Get food if you need to, kind of a thing. After lunch, what did you do after that? Well, we didn't know. To us, it was basically over. I mean, the day was over. There's nothing else to do. Now they're marching again. Are you marching? He says, well, we weren't marching. Police kind of came up and they asked us to clear the road. So I guess we were clearing the area. Now, when you were clearing the area and talking to the police and obeying their orders, when you were abiding by their lawful orders, did you discuss this, the storming of the Capitol? No, he says, no. If there was, I would have left right then and there. Video now is playing more. F Antifa, F Antifa. Do you know who these people were? Some of them. Out of the whole mob of people here on this day, how many people did you know? Says at this point, we were already regular people that weren't even at the gathering. So there was closer to one or two, maybe. What's Biggs doing on this video? Talking on the megaphone. He's saying, our house, whose house, our house, whose house, our house. And where were you in relation to this in this video? It says, I was behind the camera. There were too many people gathering already. And at that point, I'd estimate there were too many to count. There were too many bystanders, many not in our group. Some were from the Trump rally. It says our objective of doing the prayer meeting was done. It was every man for themselves. I mean, the crowd was too rowdy, but it wasn't anything. It wasn't violent. You see these people back there? Yeah, those are police officers. Yeah, we were a good 75 to 80 yards away. Oh, okay, so at that point, at this moment now in this video, is this when you decided to storm the Capitol? No, absolutely not. Was there some sort of an agreement communicated between you guys, maybe with a phone? No, he says, no, we had no communications. Do you have a radio? He said, I did have a radio, but there were no communications. Was there an unwritten objective to storm the Capitol? No. Judge Kelly says, okay, stop it, defense attorney. What this defense attorney is trying to do is show that there was no conspiracy, right? Was there any communication between anybody to enact the conspiracy? If you're going to commit sedition and it's seditious conspiracy, you've got to show the conspiracy. As we zoomed out on this, we were asking if this is such an obvious conspiracy, why didn't all of the other informants, 8 to maybe 15 of them, why didn't they also know about that and communicate this danger and this threat to the FBI? Evidently, they didn't. So here, he's trying to make that point. There is no conspiracy, and they never communicated about it. It's all just sort of organic. Judge Kelly shuts him up. All right, we've been talking about food trucks a lot over here, and I love food trucks. My stomach is grumbling, he says. Are there food trucks out here? Jury, have a great lunch. Don't talk about the case. Question comes in about another witness. We fast forward through lunch, and we're back. We have defense attorney Jerigwai resumes the cross-examination of Alonzo Proudboy. Welcome back, Alonzo. Hope you had a nice lunch. It's like I couldn't eat, I'm on a witness stand. I'm nervous as hell. All right, we'll be done here soon. He says, okay. I want to go back to this video of the peace circle. Can you tell me what's going on? He says, well, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's when the first breach happened. Now, you see this guy in the video, right? The guy with his arm raised? Yeah. Who is that? Oh, that's Ethan Nordine, a defendant in this case. What does that mean with his arm raised? What does that mean? That means stop. Stop. So was it ever the plan to proceed? He says no. What was your intention to proceed past the barriers that day? Absolutely not. Was there any agreement to do that in the Proud Boys? He says, if that had been the objective, if they wanted me to breach the barriers, I would have quit the club that day. So you didn't have any plan to stop the certification. He says, honestly, that's offensive, okay? It's insulting. We're grown men. It boggles my mind that would even be a question to stop the certification. Defense says, well, there's another person in the crowd over here. He has his fist raised. It seems like he's trying to stop the crowd from going forward. Is that right? He says, yeah, somebody is actually making a Proud Boys hand gesture. That salute means the Proud Boys. He says a mob started going towards the Capitol building. And once that happened, to me, all bets were off at that point. Everyone was on their own. Was that part of the deal? Like, did you have an agreement that once that happened? No, there was no agreement on that. Was there some sort of a pseudo understanding where there's like kind of an agreement? Maybe. No, absolutely not. He says, what do Proud Boys stand for? He says, we're a men's drinking club. Okay, we're a brotherhood. But what do you stand for? Western values. He says, women should be housewives, dot, dot, dot. Let that one hang there for a minute. He says, and Proud Boys shouldn't even cheat on their wives. He says, do you guys use locker room language? Yeah, we're men. We're trolling. We're there having fun. If somebody gets offended, then you go after them for fun. How do you feel about woke ideology? He says, well, we don't agree with it, but everybody's entitled to their own opinion. How would you describe Enrique's personality? He says, well, he's one of the calmest men I know. The purpose was to make a presence for the media. It was never about violence, ever. Only if someone strikes at us. Did Enrique Tarrio ever stage events for the media? No. What kind of leader was Enrique? Great leader. What was his feeling about BLM and their right to protest? Well, they had a right, they had a right to protest just like we do. They have a right to say whatever they want. Was it Enrique's plan to engage in violence on the 6th? Absolutely not. What were Enrique's feelings towards law enforcement? He respected law enforcement. We respect the Constitution, just like other laws of this country, especially free speech. Well, what was the purpose of the chat then? Well, it was a hand-picked group of guys, level-headed guys, not instigators, assembled to keep the peace. If anyone else did something out of hand, we were there to keep the peace. That was the specific chat called the Ministry of Self-Defense, specifically set up for that purpose. Was the purpose of your protest there on January 6th, was it to oppose the transfer of power by force? The purpose of the rally? The purpose of the rally is that Trump was going to speak and call for his supporters to show up. That's it. Yeah, but was the purpose to obstruct an official proceeding? No, not to my knowledge. Was it to impede law enforcement? No. Did you go into the Capitol? No, absolutely not. Did you stop other people from going in? Absolutely. What do you think of the people who went inside? Well, I don't think it was a good idea. I don't think they should have done it. Did you impede a police officer on that day, Alonzo? I didn't impede anyone. Did your feelings, Alonzo, ever change towards law enforcement after being part of the chat? No, it never changed. Do I think some police officers are bad? Yes. All? No. Culture remained the same, okay? Respect the police. Defense attorney is now showing him this. His handle was called Deplorable51, reference Hillary's comment. He posted something saying bodies hit the floor. Says there's a song about bodies hit the floor, right? They post this up there. You said bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Somebody made an idiotic comment about rushing barricades and regular people's bodies. He says there's a song about bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor, right? We've all heard it. And he's posting the song in there. He's saying, yeah, like bodies hit the floor. Have you ever been doxxed? He says, yeah, it happened just now during the break, actually. What happened? Objection sustained. Jared Guy, the defense attorney, is like, you're kidding. It just happened. Tell me all about it. Because he wants to talk about everything. The judge is not letting him talk about anything. He's like, yeah, you got doxxed. What was it, an FBI agent? Was it an informant? What happened? Was it an FBI agent? Prosecutor's like, objection, objection, objection. Judge is like, shut up, shut up, shut up. Everybody's trying to keep this thing under control. So so a sustained, he has to move on. Enrique, he goes, was it Enrique's idea to go inside the Capitol on January 6th? Question comes out of left field. Objection, foundation, sustained. He says, based on everything you know about Tarrio, was it Enrique Tarrio's plan? Was it his idea? Was it his objective? Did he have any agreement at all, my client, Enrique Tarrio, to go into the Capitol? Alonzo says, 100% not. No further questions. Judge Kelly now asking anybody else, any other questions for this witness? Carmen Hernandez for Zachary Real stands up. Direct exam. Hey, thanks, Alonzo, for being here and for your testimony here today. Do you know my client, Zachary Real? No, I've never met him before January 6th. I only met him then. Did he ever direct you to storm the Capitol? No, absolutely not. Did you see my client attack any police officers? No. Did he throw any bottles or projectiles? No. Did he direct anyone or help anyone else do any of those things? No. No. Thank you. No further questions. Meanwhile, Zachary Real sits in federal custody, been there for several years now. 2-year-old daughter he's never seen before. Nonviolent. Prosecutor stands up, starts cross-examination of Alonzo, says, all right, you say that you know a lot about what Enrique Tarrio had in his mind for January 6th, right? Yeah. You know him well? Yeah. Is he your best friend? No, but I mean, we're part of the same organization, so I'd call him a friend. So you know 100% in your mind what he had in his mind? Wow, that's amazing. I bet he's being very condescending. 100%. Wow. He says, yes, sir, I do. And how many of his private communications with Biggs and Nordine and Berdino and the elders and the MOSD leaders have you been privy to? Since you're 100% sure, how much of those have you read? None, actually. None. Not that one, not that one, not that one, not that one. When you texted Enrique Tarrio, he didn't always message you back, though, did he? Yes, he did. He always texted me back. We're bros. Who did you talk to in prep for your testimony here today? Hassan and Jaraguay, my lawyer, these two lawyers for Enrique Tarrio. Did they record your conversation? He says no. Did you text with them? Yeah. Prosecutor says, may I be heard on the phones, Your Honor? I think this witness is lying. He's asking for copies of those messages. I would like to see these messages and what he was prepared for. Prosecutor comes back. Judge makes a ruling. Don't know what it was. Prosecutor comes back. Other than Enrique Tarrio's lawyers here today, did you talk to anybody else? No. And you're here today sitting in court. Are there logos on your shirt? He says it's a Fred Perry shirt. All right. Happens to be yellow. And you joined the Ministry of Self-Defense chat before January 6th. Is that true? Yes, on December 31st. You remember that date, don't you? Yeah. Now, I want to show you this application form and ask you some questions about this. The chat group had an application form. On this form, it asked you what events you had attended. Do you remember that? Yeah. And by listing those events, you gave the chat room some idea of the experience that you'd be bringing to the table, right? Yeah. You would convey what you'd done, right? He says, well, what do you mean by done? I mean, I'd attended the event. I don't know what you mean by done. You were able to see what went on at those events? Yeah. And you were able to see what activities are kind of encouraged at those events? Yeah. And other activities that might be discouraged too? Yeah. And all of that helped your understanding, helped shape your understanding of the mission for January 6th, didn't it? As far as January 6th, I don't even know what you mean. Well, one of those earlier events was November in DC. You were there. You remember it, right? No, I didn't attend that one. But you listed it, though, on your application. No, I didn't. I wasn't there. Prosecutor says, oh, well, we took the spreadsheet when we rated everything, and I have this spreadsheet here, and it looks like you answered the question here on this row. It says right here on line 15, second degree Proud Boy from Vice City. You recognize that? Yeah. What does it say there? It says DC as Intel chat first time, but DC in person second time. That's his qualifications. Prosecutor says, you see that, huh? We have everything. So you had involvement, didn't you? He says, well, yeah, but it was in the Intel chat, just like I said. So you were involved enough, though, to list it on your form, weren't you? He says, yeah, I was. And in that capacity, you learned about what happened? Yes. And some of that even made it to social media. Yeah. And some of those social media posts celebrated acts of violence, didn't they? Objection, sidebar. Message from Zach Real here. They play a video. In the video, they're talking about an Antifa person with a knife getting knocked out by a Proud Boy in a single punch. Apparently, Zach Reel's saying she got what she deserved, had a knife, swiped at someone, so she got what she deserved. Self-defense. Prosecutor says, I'm going to show this video. Judge grants a second sidebar. Carmen Hernandez is back there. Objection, 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 overruled. Video starts to play. Prosecutor says, so you saw videos like this, right, after the November rally, and you took pleasure in these videos, seeing Antifa getting punched in the head? He says, well, I don't think anybody took pleasure. I mean, she clearly has a knife, and she started swinging the knife. So somebody trying to attack one of our guys got knocked out. Of course, I took pleasure. Weirdo. You wouldn't? So you made jokes about that video, didn't you? Yeah, we did. Defense is objecting all over. Smith, Jerichoy, Hernandez, all objections. All overruled because, of course. This is a message, right? He says, well, it's my Telegram handle, but I didn't post this. I don't speak like that context. That's not how I speak. He said, I had put my name on things I didn't say many times. Prosecutor says, so you're kidding me. So someone was impersonating you? Like stealing your identity in chats that we extracted from Tario's phone? That's weird that they did that. You're stating that I wrote that. I didn't write that. That's not me. So you never wrote, put video of Predator B, objection, sidebar. Defense is objecting this. Judge lets it in. Prosecutor comes back out. Says, okay, let me lay a little more foundation here. So you were a member of a chat called Miami-Dade, weren't you? And in that chat, you wrote, put the video of the Predator woman getting smacked. Carmen Hernandez is screaming, objection! Overruled. Quiet, Carmen. Prosecutor continues. Put the video of the Predator bee getting smacked and make a GoFundMe page saying we're getting her new teeth. LOL. You didn't write that? No, I didn't write that, he says. Very interesting. Prosecutor's just going to let that one linger and look at all the jurors like this. You believe that? Yeah, sure. Nothing about that prevented you, though, from going to a December rally, did you? You wrote protest time had come again, sort of a reference to a song. Objection, sustained. Part of the planning for the 12/12 rally was in the DC Sweet Sweepers chat, right? Yeah. Because you and other Proud Boys planned on cleaning the DC streets, is that right? Well, it was called that because the police were not going to do anything clearly. Antifa was attacking innocent people, particularly older people, and it irks you when you see police sitting around not doing anything. So you're telling me that you thought that it was your job and other Proud Boys' jobs to clean up the streets. Well, I don't think it's my job, but to me as a U.S. citizen, not a Proud Boy, to go and protect innocent people? Yes. Your job is to forcibly remove people you view as troublemakers from the streets of DC? Is that what you're saying? No, it's to keep the peace. So is this where the term Cop Tifa started getting thrown around a lot? Cop Tifa? He says, I don't know where it started. Prosecutor says, well, was it sometime around December 2020 when it started getting used? It says, yeah, that sounds about right. And you said on direct exam that you guys never engaged in acts of aggression. He says, no, that's not what I said. I actually said that we were not there to start aggression. We were there to react if there was aggression. But you had aggressive action in mind, didn't you, as you prepared for December? Several objections from the defense. Prosecutor comes back. So you traveled, didn't you, Alonzo, to DC for the December rally? Yeah. And you didn't see as much action as you would have liked. Is that true? I don't know. I don't know what you mean by that. Well, things that held you back from engaging fully in a group's activities, like physical restraints, did those things happen? He says, yeah. He says, your level of fitness wasn't quite objection overruled. He says, tell me about your physical situation. He said, well, back then I had 2 torn ligaments. Prosecutor reads another message. He says, my leg is giving me hell. That's what you said? He says, yes, that I said. He says, oh, so that one's not an imposter, is it? No. The other one was an imposter. You didn't write that one, but you suddenly wrote this one. 2 days after the rally, you said, had to let others handle the battle. I need to get back in shape. You remember that? You resolved that and then you were going to start training. Remember saying that? Yeah. And you weren't just training for any imaginary doomsday scenario, were you? He says, well, the reason I was saying this is no, he says, you were already at war, weren't you? No. See what he's trying to do? Make his healing after the December rally be the preparation moment for the J6 insurrection. Everybody's preparing for battle for their insurrection. They probably ordered their Field of Greens using code Robert at fieldofgreens.com and, put on some weight, hit the gym, get a tan, cardio up to get ready for insurrection. I need to get back in shape. So then you were going to start training, like Rocky, probably go through a crucible. And you weren't just training for any imaginary doomsday scenario, were you? You were already at war. You said something like this. Trump, I don't get it. Trump disavowed us. Are we doing or are we not? Or is this thing like a 3%er training for doomsdays and zombies? Says, I am in 100% for real things and actions, not for scenarios of what if down the line. We are at war today, right now. This is the prosecutor, I'm presuming, reading this out. Objection from the defense. Prosecutor comes back. So your view of war was that the police and federal law enforcement had chosen the wrong side. Is that true? No. I want to show you this message. This message is from you again, right? This one's suddenly from you? Yeah. You wrote this on 12/23. You said, been saying this for a while. Antifa is backed by Dems, police, and the FBI, and they're all over the world. You sent that message, didn't you? Yeah. And you were part of another group called Perchetta War that sent people to J6. Yeah. Tario was a member of that group too, wasn't he? He says, yeah, but it was satire. We hung around a Cuban restaurant and joked. Who created that group? Yeah, he says Tario might have created it. Garcia and Fonticoba were members. Yeah. How about Ash Barakazoba? I don't remember him. How about the Greek? Yeah, he was in there. Michael Priest. Yeah. Priest is Alberto Torna. Yeah. And Pedros Barrios, the Q-Tip Homelander, is here, right? He said, I never knew the real names. Somebody's called Q-Tip Homelander. Oh, that's great. So prosecutor says, in that chat, you had discussions of keeping Donald Trump in power, didn't you? Objection, sidebar. Judge Kelly says, all right, we're going to take a break on that. Take a 10-minute break. We come back. Judge Kelly's back on the bench. Government prosecutor resumes the cross. He says, as of December 27th, you thought that Trump might have a complicated plan to hold on to the presidency, right? Objection, overruled. He reads this message. It's a long, complex message. He says, what is this? He says, well, I forwarded that message. And what's in that message? Various legal schemes to affect the outcome of the election, right? He says, yeah. Objection, hearsay 403, overruled. It comes in. So they start talking about this. There was somebody else in this chat that had something less complex in mind. You remember that? No, I don't remember. Couple objections. We fast forward through that. Sidebar. By Christmas Eve, December 24th, you had something more drastic in mind, didn't you? Well, the first message was just something I shared, right? So I don't know what you mean by that. Shows him another thread. The second message is from Al, and you don't respond. And then Al provides a further suggestion, and you say, yes, you remember that? Yeah. Reading from the top, it says, Priest says the following, right? Yeah. Unleash the Kraken. When do we start stacking bodies on the White House lawn? You respond, J7th, right? Priest says rhinos first. Make the Democrats watch. And you say, yes, didn't you? Alonzo says, look, this was not something literal, okay? We're not going to stack bodies on the White House lawn. This was locker room talk, if you will. Prosecutor says, locker room talk. He says that stacking bodies on the floor, though, that's the same phrase that the member chat used. when that was about protesters' bodies, right? Norm Pattis wants a sidebar. This is where they're saying stack those bodies in front of Capitol Hill. So it's a kind of a recurring theme. Prosecutor says, all right, now as January 6th approached, you understood very well that the focus of the J6 Proud Boys event would be the Capitol, right? He says, focus of what event? No, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, I want to show you this other message from 12/19/2020. He says, yes, outside the Capitol. You said on January 6th we should go and stand and protect our fellow patriots while history is made inside. Remember that? Yeah. And you said on direct that if you heard any talk about storming the Capitol, you'd have removed yourself from that, right? Yeah. Well, I want to show you this message about another chat. You say a message that says empty file, right? Yeah. And on this day on 12/20, you're discussing expectations for the 6th. I don't remember. Now you're talking about awaiting the outcome on the Capitol steps, right? He says this has nothing to do with a message. You're saying what the 6th is going to be about. He says that the 6th is going to be about awaiting the outcome. But this has nothing to do with the chat. We're just talking about what the outcome is. We're just going to wait for the outcome on the Capitol steps. You're assuming that means go in there, but we're just waiting for the outcome. Yeah, but you sent this message about what was going on in the 6th and not what it was going to be about, right? Objection overruled. Yeah, we're waiting for the outcome as a patriot, not as a Proud Boy. So the messages came in from Priest, and you sent another message, didn't you? Objection overruled. You said that January 6th might be the moment to take DC, didn't you? Says it may not be peaceful. Maybe we should stand back and stand by. Defense is objecting, overruled again. Another message comes in. Says only things we'd be doing is fighting crazy leftists and not affecting the outcome that day. Alonzo responds, going on the 6th is about joining patriots on the Capitol steps, awaiting the outcome that affects us all. Priest says if we're storming the Capitol, that's a different story. And he says, that didn't disgust you? Like you didn't leave the chat when he said, if we're storming the Capitol? You said earlier that if you saw that, you'd leave the chat, and you didn't. That didn't disgust you? He says, it's a facetious remark. But that didn't insult you when he talked about storming the Capitol, did it? I didn't think anything of it. I thought it was a stupid statement. But then you said the following back to him, right? You said, a people united will never be defeated. Remember that? And then you said, J6 determines everything. And then you said that us going is not about Antifa. It's about us being patriots and standing amongst normies. The purpose is that what will happen that day. Then you sent this longer message poking fun at people who didn't want to get behind this. You remember all that? Prosecutor says you expressed great confidence about what Tarrio's purpose was in creating MOSD, right? I don't recall that. It was to keep the peace. But you said you were 100% sure. You said 100. Yes. And how many comms did you have with the leaders? None. How many with the elders' chats? None. Prosecutors asking, now you may not have had any direct knowledge of communications with Tarrio, but you expect that Tarrio told law enforcement about the chat? Well, I don't know. It wasn't like any other rally in a sense. We weren't going as Proud Boys. So you expected Tarrio to tell police he had a bunch of guys going to the Washington Monument at 10 a.m.? So I don't even know if that was part of the original plan. He says the defense lawyer showed you parts of a video and asked why you did certain things, right? Yeah. And your answer was not much of a reason, is what you said, right? Yeah. You said you had no role whatsoever in deciding where this group went, right? He says, I didn't have a job. When leaders moved, you moved, right? When they stopped, you stopped. Yes. And you didn't ask why, right? No. And you didn't go to Trump's speech either, did you? Correct. You knew the main event was at the Capitol. Correct. Then a whole bunch of guys charged through those barriers, right? Yeah. I don't even know if those were our guys, but you did not go in, did you? Right. You hung back. Yeah. You weren't back in shape, were you? Well, I couldn't have gone through in any event with armed police. I had an officer pointing a rifle at my face. But you kept up with what was going on inside, right? Well, we heard things. You got updates, didn't you, from your insurrectionists inside? Yeah. I want to show you something. You remember this scene? Yeah, that's us. We were hanging back all the way in the back. This is where you put yourself while the Capitol was being stormed. Yeah. Video's playing. There's a man with a ski mask and a vest on. You don't remember that man? He says, no, it might be someone I know. Who does it sound like? Says the prosecutor. It sounds like Bucky from West Palm Beach. And at some point, Gilbert Fontecoba links up with you. Yeah. He'd been inside the building. Yeah. He'd brought back a bottle of water he got from inside. And you thought that was pretty funny, didn't you? Objection sustained. This is you on the left side of the screen with a radio on your chest. Yeah. And now playing the audio only from the video. It's garbled up in the media room. Fontecoba is saying he wanted to frame that water bottle. And you just laughed, didn't you? He says, yeah, I thought it was stupidly funny. You weren't insulted. You said you'd be insulted. And while you were on the lawn back where your attention was 100% focused on whether the election was certified, wasn't it? You knew that Fontecoba had been inside and Garcia, and you were 100% focused on whether the election was certified, wasn't it? I said, I don't remember everything. At some point, somebody shared with you that a woman had been shot, referencing Ashley Babbitt. Remember that? Yeah. And in your words, all you wanted to know was whether Pence had betrayed Trump. He says, well, the way you're answering me, the answer is no. I had many things in my head, okay? When you heard that she'd been shot, all you said was, all you wanted to know was whether Pence had betrayed Trump. Now he's showing the witness audio from another video. He says, you said that they didn't say whether Pence betrayed Trump or whether the election certified. Did you say that? You said that you were insulted when the defense was asking you questions if someone suggested trying to stop the certification. You said that, didn't you? Yeah. And the certification proceedings were obstructed, weren't they? Objection sustained. You understand that Congress had to evacuate? Chorus of objections, everybody. Objections, all the defense attorneys. You understand that certification proceedings had to go into recess? It wasn't done by the Proud Boys. Was I aware it happened? Yeah, but it doesn't mean the Proud Boys did it. You knew that the vice president was evacuated. Yeah, I was aware of that. You were aware that both chambers had been evacuated. I was aware, but again, I don't know the architecture. You were aware that a whole lot of Proud Boys you marched with went inside the building? He says, no, actually, no. There were hundreds of thousands of people there, but they were not all Proud Boys. Well, I want to show you this one. Objection sidebar. Do you remember Tario telling MOSD, the chat, that he was proud of y'all? Yeah. And you weren't insulted by that, were you? Him saying, okay, MFers? Why would I be insulted? Feeling insulted of that proud of y'all? No answer on that. Did you quit the Proud Boys? You're wearing a Proud Boy shirt right now, aren't you? He says, no, it's not a Proud Boy shirt. It's a Fred Perry shirt. Prosecutor says, record will reflect it's a yellow polo shirt. He says, is it illegal to wear a yellow shirt? Weird prosecutor. Let the record reflect he's wearing a yellow polo. Oh my gosh. Did you have a banana for breakfast today? Let the record reflect he likes yellow fruits. Death penalty, Your Honor. Judge is like, holy moly. Can we arrest him again? So the prosecutor continues on. Objections. They go through some more exhibits. Prosecutor brings in Eddie Block, says, so Eddie Block followed the Proud Boys around that day and took video, didn't he? Yeah. And afterwards, is it fair to say that you don't think that video would clear you from all the wrongdoing? Objection, relevance, 403, misstates the evidence, sidebar. It's fair to say, says the prosecutor, that after the fact, you did not think that Eddie Block's video was going to clear you from wrongdoing. Objection again. He says, assuming I know this video is in the hands of the government, prosecutor, so just try to answer my question, okay? He says, when he was taking videos, I thought it was stupid. I thought he's doxing everybody. So you're expressing negative views towards Block for taking the video? He says, yeah, of course. Huh. On January 15th, he says, you sent this message, right? Yeah. It says from Alonzo, Crips or not, snitches get stitches. Uh-oh. Alonzo says, yeah, I thought he was a snitch. Crip means cripple. He thinks Eddie Block with the real good boy Donnie is a snitch? So he says, now here's another thought. J14, he sends another message, Alonzo. He says, that F needs to be duct taped to the National Mall and Scooter placed at the top of it. Oh, no, that's not appropriate. It's not appropriate at all. Alonzo says, yeah, I said that because he released that footage. Mulro says done. No further questions on that one. After he says he wants to duct tape Eddie and his scooter to the top of the National Mall for being potentially a Fed. In his opinion, I'm not endorsing that at all. Okay, let's continue. So the defense comes back on and they're going to rehabilitate. So we're back on the redirect. Eddie, I don't think you're a Fed if you're out there, okay? Or your real good boy, Donnie. Here, the redirect is from Jaraguai. He says, okay, Mr. Alonzo, how do you feel about being attacked by the government for your speech? Objection sustained. And the judge is pissed. May I see counsel at sidebar? Holy moly. Wow. Defense attorney comes out. Eddie's in the house. The prosecutor said in court, I'm not a Fed. Okay. Eddie is not a Fed. And in all seriousness, all right, like, you know, we want everybody to be safe here. All right, so back to this. Prosecutor is done. Defense attorney's coming out and rehabilitating, says, all right, Mr. Alonzo, how do you feel about being attacked by the government for your speech? Objection sustained. Counsel, may I see you at sidebar? You better be careful here. Defense counsel comes back out, says, how do you feel about being attacked about what you wear? Your yellow banana polo insurrection shirt. Objection sustained. Defense goes, how do you feel about being attacked about the people you hang out with? Objection sustained. Alonzo says, look, I'm proud of being a Proud Boy. Begins to talk about hurricane relief. He says, there's a hurricane in Texas. Enrique got a whole bunch of people to go help out. We do Toys for Tots. That's why I joined the club. I'm proud to be a Proud Boy. We help build people up. Did you engage in any violence in the November rally? I wasn't even there. In the December rally? No. Did Enrique engage in violence in December? No. Did you use the term Cop Tifa? Yeah, I mean, it meant to me cops who just stood there when Antifa was attacking people. To us, those types of cops were like kind of part of Antifa. I don't see anybody doing anything to them. Judge says, strike that last sentence. Get rid of it. So Judge Jaraguai says, did Enrique ever use the term Cop Tifa? Might have. I don't know. At what time did we meet last night? 1 a.m. Why? Well, you had to pick up Mr. Hassan from the airport. Defense shows him the cell phone. Did you send any messages between us? He says, yeah, I sent the airport address 5 minutes away. I said, good morning. Are you in the courthouse yet? I'm in the cafeteria. Are those the only messages between us? Yeah. You ever been to the FBI Academy? No. You ever practiced testifying in court? No. When I went to meet you, did I show up with armed FBI agents? No. Did I knock down your door and conduct a search warrant of your house? No. Threaten you with gun charges? Objection, sustained, which is what the FBI does. Raid and charge you and threaten you and twist your arms and turn you into an informant. Did we ever meet 10 or 12 times to get you to say what I wanted? Objection sustained. So Jaraguai is just burning the place down at this point. You see all these sustains here, all these objections, sustains. He's just burning it down. He doesn't even care. He's like, we have no witnesses. We can't even talk about our informants. I don't even care. Do you feel good being attacked about your shirt? You feel good about being attacked by your speech? Objection, objection, objection. Doesn't even care. They raid your house, threaten you with charges. Do we meet 10 to 12 times to get you to say whatever I want you to say, like the government did with their witnesses? Objection sustained. Did I ever lie to you to get what I wanted, like their informant did or that their agents did? Objection sustained. He doesn't care. He says, what is a croqueta? Changes the subject. What's a croqueta? It's a Cuban pastry. So when you call a chat a croqueta wars, what does croqueta wars mean? Are you going to start an invasion over croqueta, Cuban pastries? He said, it's a satire. We always went to a restaurant to have croquetas. It's just guys being guys. Croqueta wars is stupid. It's just stupid. Do you have the same phone number and account ever since January 6th? Yeah. Has the FBI ever asked you for access to your phone? No. They never tried to find out the truth from you, have they? They never wanted to speak to you about any of this, have they? No. Never spoke to an FBI agent in my life. Lucky. The men and women around you on J6, were they making their own decisions that day? Objection. Were you aware of some sort of mass hysteria where people weren't in control of their minds? No. Well, why didn't you go inside the Capitol on January 6th? Because of the things I was saying. I mean, too many things were not normal. There was something screwy going on. At one side, I was watching police point a gun at me. And then I look 50 yards away and I see police motioning police to come in. I'm thinking, how the heck did people get there so quickly? It was very cold. A lot of us were tired. So I waited for the other guys to come find us. We left while it was still daylight out. While you were hanging back, did you know police officers had been hurt? He says, well, there was a lot of chatter. Police were throwing stun bombs and gas. Myself, I didn't see police officers get hurt. Did I hear things? Yeah. Do you think police officers deserve to be hurt on January 6th? No, nobody deserves to be hurt. Did you tell the truth and nothing but the truth today? Yes, sir. He says, all right, we're done here. No further questions on that one. Judge is now excusing the jury for the day, admonishes the jury, don't talk to the media, don't watch the media. And we have a sidebar now. Jury is excused. Stanley Woodward sitting on the bench inside the bar on the sidebar on the phone. They might be talking about a client, a next witness. Long sidebar finishes. Prosecutor chimes in. He says, Your Honor, when we went under seal the second time, I'd moved to have that released to the parties. Also, good, we get to see something unsealed. Also, I'd like representations from parties as to the witnesses we can anticipate tomorrow on Wednesday because of the 36-hour notice rule. Carmen Hernandez, for Zach Reel, chimes in, says there were questions about whether Alonzo was still a Proud Boy or not. The Proud Boys is not an outlawed organization. It's a violation of the First Amendment. You objected. I overruled the objection. She says, but I don't think I explained the basis. He says, great. I understood the basis. You explained it now. Still overruled. Judge says it was impeaching in that he'd said that he would have had disassociated himself from any plan. And then obviously he didn't. He was still a Proud Boy. Hernandez is saying, yeah, but that's fine. That's fine. But we didn't get adequate notice of their exhibits. And the judge is saying, I don't care whatever you want to argue about. Just tell me who your witnesses are. Perfect. Carmen says, what, for tomorrow and Wednesday? So tomorrow we've got Mr. Finley, a sergeant from the Capitol Police. Ooh. Miss Reel, maybe Zach's mom or relative. Demetrius Robbins, Anthony Gouffre, government many times the witnesses on us. And they get into a fight here. I don't know what this is. Judge says, we're done talking about it. We're done. We're done. Don't know what that is. We'll have to see what that is. Carmen Hernandez. Oh, look at this. Your Honor, we're calling this person. We're calling this person. And my guess is they say for tomorrow and Wednesday. My guess is what's happening here is Carmen Hernandez is disclosing these people. We want Real. We want Demetrius. We want Anthony. Government is saying, sorry, Judge, it's a 36-hour rule. She didn't disclose those people for tomorrow. And so tomorrow, if there's anybody new on this list, they're not allowed to testify because it's not disclosed timely. And she says, yeah, but they've done this. I've totally, says the government has done this many times. They've dumped witnesses on us. And so I'm disclosing these people to you. And now these are my witnesses. And the judge is probably telling her no. says, we're done talking about it, okay? We're done. We're done. Carmen Hernandez says, Your Honor, but judge. The judge says, sit down. Sit down, Carmen. Sit down. Third time. 3 times. Carmen Hernandez is, Judge says, Miss Hernandez, I'm amazed people think this is the way to comport yourself in court. I'm flabbergasted, says the judge. Dan Hall chimes in, says, we're in an enviable position of having witnesses who could go on tomorrow. Hall is an attorney for Biggs. Hernandez says, Your Honor, I'd like to correct the record, okay? This morning, I spoke to the prosecutor Ballantine. We're acting collegially. I've been giving them the list of my witnesses since last week. This prosecutor, McCullough, is misrepresenting to the court that I didn't give him the list. I did give him the list. He likes to get the court riled up about the defense. It's unprofessional. Don't blame me for this. Blame them. Defense attorney for Biggs, Norm Pattis, chimes in. He says, Your Honor, when do we adjourn tomorrow? 5 p.m. hard stop. What about Friday? The judge says we have a half day on Friday. Root says, well, Mr. Pizzola and his lawyers have no idea what happened during the last 25 minutes. There aren't enough phones in the courtroom, and a defendant needed one. Judge says, well, if I'd known, we could have tried to make an adjustment, but you'll get a transcript promptly. Now, recessing tomorrow until 9 a.m. Hope to see you tomorrow. Get out of my courtroom, Carmen. So that, my friends, is day 44 of the Proud Boys trial. Courtesy of our friend Roger Parloff. If you're not already following Roger Parloff, please be sure to do that. We're very grateful for his live tweet threads that allow us to piece together what is going on. But boy, oh boy, what another doozy of a day that was. We have a situation where every single confidential human source seems to be being excused from the trial. Don't get to ask many questions about them. Judge is very unhappy with Carmen Hernandez. Sit down. And trial will continue tomorrow. We'll see with what witnesses. Only time will tell. But that, my friends, is it for us on the day. We covered some good ground today. Proud Boys trial 44. FBI Informant Jen Loh was also not called. We don't get to hear anything about it. We checked in on the Douglass Mackey case. In fact, let's check in and see if there was any minute entry updates. No, nothing on that one either. So that is it for us today, but we'll see if there's a verdict tomorrow in the Douglass Mackey trial, the illegal meme trial, and what's happening there, because the DOJ continues unabated and will continue to follow. But that, my friends, is it for us on the day. Let's turn our attention over to you and see what you have to say about this. Over from our friends on Rumble, on Locals, on YouTube. Who is in the house on this beautiful, beautiful day? Hey, Waldo the Lost is here. Waldo the Lost in the house says, whew, we're all safer. They finally caught that memer. I know, I was waking up in cold sweats like Adam Kinzinger and like Liz Cheney, wondering if we were all going to die one day. Thank you, Waldo the Lost. The memer is caught. Hey, Fred Pedamonte is here. He says, Rob, Johnny said, dude, you spend $30 a week on super chats to this jerk? Ask how do we get one of those free memberships? Johnny asked, not me, Rob. So Fred, that's over on Locals. Come on over to Locals, Fred. I can't give away. So tell Johnny this, all right? I know Johnny asked. I know it's not for you, Fred. But over on Locals, come say hello over on Locals. Actually, Fred, I got your email. I'll take care of that. You don't have to do anything. I've already got it taken care of. I'll make that happen. But it's over on Locals. I can't give out anything free on YouTube. They don't allow me to do that. Why? Because they're YouTube punks. But yeah, it is a lot. That's a pretty hefty there. That's a pretty hefty tab there. $30 a week. Yeah, I mean, it's like a bill. It's like a cable bill or something. Anyways, so we're appreciative of that. I mean, Johnny kind of has a point on a couple things. One, it is expensive 2, I am a jerk. And I haven't offered you a free membership yet. So, yeah, I guess Johnny's right. Valid comment. Great comment. He's really smart, I told you. What's his IQ, like 180? I can't even keep up with him. Anyways, good to see you, Fred. I'll take care of it. I'll send you an email later. I'll make a memory of that. Eddie is in the house. Eddie Block says, I got my 4th when Antifa swung on me. That's the 4th degree. Hit me in the face. I knocked him out. Again, protecting a woman when Antifa hit me with a chain, all on video. It sounds like it was a clear-cut case of self-defense to me. And I'm glad that you survived that well. And I'm glad that you protected the honor of a woman who was being violently assaulted by maniacs. Shout out to Eddie Block Films. And by the way, if you're not already subscribed over to Eddie Block's channel, you should be, because he's got great content over there. We played a little bit of it here. Good to see you, Eddie. And again, hopefully you're traveling safe, man. I know it's a big stressful thing to go and testify at a trial. And so hopefully you are settling in after, the off-ramp of this thing. But I know that the justice system, and we are grateful for you making the effort to go and testify, the defense team as well. So thank you for your contributions. Here we had another one from, thank you, Eddie. K Bean says, congrats to Enrique Tarrio, his 13th year as an informant. It's amazing. I know. It's like, is that a Guinness Book of World Records or something? 13th year, and they're all informants, K Bean. It's like 4 out of the 5 were informants. Enrique Tarrio was an informant, and he was picked up by an informant. Then he apparently conducted an insurrection with a bunch of informants. It's insane. Eddie says, making Donnie is a good boy shirts with a photo from the witness stand. Robert, send me a message and I'll send you one for free. Hey, Eddie, I'll pay for one, brother. You don't have to send me one for free, man. You launch them. We'll plug them here on the show, man. We'll do that. Donnie is a good boy. And we'd love to support you. I'll pay for one, man. You don't have to send me one for free. We'll put them up on your channel and we'll send over, we'll plug it here for you and for us, right? And I'll buy one personally because I want one. He is a good boy, man. He's doing real good boy work over there. And we're glad that he was able to join you. Super fun. Yeah, and Eddie's in the chat, so you can just hear. There he is. Good. All right. So we're going to do a refresh over here. And we got Snuggle Struggles over on YouTube says, good to see people exposing just how vindictive those in power have become. The hypocrisy is palpable. Hoping to see you on Ricada's show in the future. Best wishes. Yeah, I'm going to reach out to Nick. I'd love to talk. He sort of goes later. He's like sort of a late night show. And I'm like, kind of in bed by 9 o'clock usually. But we'll make it happen. I love talking to Nick. I think we've talked a couple times. And he's great. I mean, I watch Nick's stuff. I think he's great. So I'd love to talk to him again, and we'll get that set up. But thank you, Snuggle Struggle. It is vindictive. It's kind of gross. It's almost, I think Eddie's in the chat. I was kind of wondering about the, maybe we'll have to talk about this, but kind of the prosecutors. I wanted to know what their body language looked like when they were taking pictures with the real good boy, Donnie. Because to me, they seem so viscerally, animated against these J6 cases. So for them to go take a picture with a Donald J. Trump dog, to me, like, I understand on the one side of the spectrum, it's a nice, it's a good boy and you want to take a picture with a dog. On the other side, part of me thinks that they might want this as sort of a trophy, sort of a scalpel that they can hang up in their offices and look at like they accomplished something, just kind of this darkness to it a little bit. And I just sort of feel it. I don't know how else they can just crap all over the justice system this way and think it's appropriate to do what they do. It's reprehensible. It makes my stomach turn a little bit. I mean, I didn't recognize that it was so political, I guess, there. Honestly, I thought today we'd hear some about the FBI informant stuff. A little bit. Didn't hear any of it. Dolphin fan says, Rob, seriously, what would you have done or feel if you were defending this case? Probably Carmen Hernandez. I mean, I sort of all the defense attorneys here who stand out, I'm kind of most like spirit animal is Carmen Hernandez. She's outraged. I probably would be scolded by the judge. I probably would be, just exploding with rage. But not with but I'm also I'm also very, very composed in those moments. Like I wouldn't blow a gasket to wreck the case, but I would be very animated, no doubt about it. But what could you do differently? I mean, I think what they've been doing has been very good. It's to try to show that there is a broader conspiracy that they were not that in other words, they were not a part of a conspiracy in the first place, but there is a broader conspiracy. And you have to crack that shell to show or to get any information about these informants in. The judge is not allowing anything in. So, in other words, I don't think there's anything you could do differently. These defense attorneys have two hands tied behind their back, plus both their legs, and they've got duct tape over their mouths. The judge just says, "Sit there and shut up and don't say anything." So, I don't know that there's much else that you could do. I think they're making their record very clearly. I think that a very strong, articulate record is critical. They're going to be appealing all of these issues. And I'm not sure where it's going to go. I know that Carmen Hernandez has said that she wanted to talk to the attorney general. I mean, more will be revealed, but this case has been one of those that really feels like they are driving towards an outcome. And how you can say that a bunch of potential co-conspirators who are FBI informants are not relevant to the conversation in the trial when they were like in the position of being co-conspirators potentially. Yeah, it's outrageous. I think it's disgusting, and we'll continue to follow it, see what happens. I think there will need to be some serious changes in the structure of the makeup of the government in Congress and the executive branch before we start seeing major corrections, the type we need in DC. But I'm with you, Dolphin fan. Outrageous. And thank you to our friends on YouTube for sending those super chats in. Very generous, everybody. I'm grateful for those. Let's see who is over on Rumble. Say hello to our friends over here. Who is in the house? We got LA Aztecas in the house. We got Janak, Fairy Dance. Rand Paul's assistant got attacked, says Gentifer. Army Brat is over there. It's good to see everybody on Rumble. We had a great time talking with Viva last week on Rumble on Friday. And so if you missed that one, don't forget to check that one out from our friend Viva. We have our locals friends. Tweak is in the house. Tweak says, Rob, I want to gift a membership. Can I do it this way? Thank you, Tweak. Yes. So we do some scholarships over for our locals friends. So if you're join us over on locals for our after party, the after parties on locals are free. The member only morning headlines are not free, but the after parties are. And so Tweak is in the house. Thank you, Tweak. Wants to gift away a scholarship away, a locals membership. So come check it out. We have Common Free says, let's assume people somewhere down the line, there is a court of actual justice. Will you explain the major steps from this sham trial to a just ruling based on facts and evidence from the Supreme Court? Okay. I think what you're asking is, if this gets appealed, if this goes up to a court of appeals, or if there's some sort of reversal of this, will I be able to explain this and the difference between the just outcome and this outcome based on ruling and facts? Or could I just hypothesize on how this trial would go more legally? So I want to be clear on this. This judge isn't doing anything that is illegal or unconstitutional, or, maybe he is, right? We can't actually see the facts because we're not actually reading the transcripts and we're not making the arguments in the court of law. We can't see what's under seal. We're not having conversations with the prosecutors, right? We are so far removed from this. It's hard to get the details, but I'm going to guess that there's going to be all sorts of appeals for mistrials and the Rule 29 stuff. Well, there's going to be a whole slew of appeals. The judge does have discretion to say this is relevant, this is not relevant, this is admissible, this is not admissible, and make those rulings around the margins. I vehemently disagree with what this judge has done on this case. I think it is antithetical to justice. It feels very one-sided because I think it is. And I think that it's just par for the course. Most of these cases have felt this way. So I don't think it's an aberration. But I also want to be careful. The judge, I don't think is doing anything unethical. It's just not, it's not fair. It's just not fair at all. And it's a very, very, very interesting distinction there. So all of the rulings that we've been covering right now, you just flip those. It's just like a switch. If he kept it out, just keep it in. And if you take this same case and give it to a different judge, it would probably be very, very similar. The judge would just let a lot more stuff in, and then that would enable the defense to make a defense, which they're not allowed to do now. So that's kind of the only real difference that I would say. On locals, GSD lady says, Rob, do these poor souls have a chance on appeal? I can't believe they're withholding evidence of the FBI corruption. Can they bring it up on appeal? Yeah, so they can bring up the judge's decisions in the trial, right? So they're objecting to this judge's decision to not talk about the informants. They can say, you should have allowed us to talk about the informants. The judge's ruling is that the informant issue is irrelevant, and the judge will articulate reasons on the record as to why. And they can say, it's not irrelevant. Here's the case law. The judge made a bad decision. Here's why the Court of Appeals should remand it down for a new trial where we can actually talk about the informant stuff in the new trial. I'm not real sure. I actually do intend to get into some more of the appeals stuff because there was a good appealable issue. I think we're waiting on a ruling on out of the DC Court of Appeals. But I don't know that you're going to see any love out of the DC Circuit Court of Appeals. It's DC after all. And so those are from our friends over on Locals. Of course, we are going over there for our after party here, our debrief in just a few minutes. But we are going to wrap it up here, my friends. I'd love to see you over there at watchingthewatchers.locals.com. Or if you're a YouTube member, you can join up. And then don't forget to get the Telegram link in our YouTube community section. If you're a member, grab the private Telegram link so that you can join us for our members only morning streams and our after parties as well. Also, don't forget to grab your Field of Greens over at fieldofgreens.com using code Robert when you check out. The vegetables want to be eaten. You're going to feel just bursting with energy. Look how happy they are when they're look at this. They're just super happy. So go grab yours, fieldofgreens.com. Don't forget to use code Robert at checkout. Also, my former law firm, the R&R Law Group, they're still out there helping good people charged with crimes find safety, clarity, and hope. You can find them online at rrlawaz.com. Want to shout out the mods who mod down the fort for us on the day. Our friends Vienticus Prime, K Beans in the chat. We got Just Cause, Playing Hooky, our friends Ronnie Cole, Zulu, Geomancy, Zach Nichols, John Allen over on Telegram. Our friend Sleepy Dog Lee on Twitter, and Geegum Geegum over on Locals. We're grateful for you. But that, my friends, is it for us on the day. We are going to leave it right there. We're going over to Locals for just a short after party. And then we'll see you right back here tomorrow to do it all again. We'll see what the Proud Boys have in store for us. Day 45. We'll see if there's any Trump indictment news or anything else going on. But hopefully, my friends, you have a beautiful evening. I'll see you right back here tomorrow so that together with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Have a beautiful evening, my friends. See you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.